Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. I am your host, Benjamin Kennedy, coming to you all tonight, Saturday night here. Hope everybody's having a lovely weekend out there. Uh, Busy day here with me and my kiddo. Had soccer again today. Still just loving that. It's been so much fun to watch that. Big play date with a few of his friends and me and Mama. So that was a lot of fun too. So he is tucked away into bed, and I get to do another podcast and come back to you fine people on the internets. So tonight we are going to talk about an original six here, the Chicago Blackhawks. Kind of a forgettable year last year, which was kind of expected. But let's start by talking about their third year now, head coach Luke Richardson. Finished off his second season last year with the club, 164 games coached, a 49, 102 and 13 record, 338 winning percentage, of course. Taking over this team at the very bottom of the league. I don't think anybody's surprised by that record. Um, he's really not being judged by wins and losses right now. I think there's a lot of other metrics that the team is looking at in terms of how he's building this team and building this culture. He was kind of a hard nosed player when he played, and you just wonder how he'll bring more of that as this team continues to grow. Now, a little bit more of a veteran team this year, and we'll talk about that as we look at what they did July 1st. So salary cap, they still have about was it 6.677 million left under the cap, according to Puckpedia. They do have one active roster spot left to fill, so 22 out of 23 there. So they've got some room, some wiggle room to make some moves. Of course, this can play out as we get to the trade deadline if they want to play banker or broker for a three-team trade or something like that and pick up a draft pick here or there. Or maybe there's a player that pops up that they want to sign. Depending on how the team is trending, kind of halfway through the year, but a little bit of flexibility there for them. First round this year, they kind of raked it again. They had three first round picks. And as I usually do, I'm going to apologize if I mispronounce or butcher any of these names. But at number two, they took the young defenseman Artem Levshinov. Levshinov, I think is how you pronounce that. At number 18, they took center Sasha Bosford. And at number 27, forward Marika Vanacker or Vanacker. So, yeah, again, apologies to all of you if I butchered your names. Certainly not intended, but yeah, very good first round for again, following up on their Conner Bedard year from a year ago. So they've just got a slew of young talent in this system. This will be a very exciting team, I think, when you look at the next 4 or 5 years down the road. And it doesn't stop there. Next season, even before they make any other trades or anything, they have two first rounders and two second rounders. So they're set up to have another very strong, good draft a year from now. Looking at the results from last year, like we said, not pretty. 23, 53, and 6. Just, oof, ouch. 52 points, finishing, of course, eighth in that Central Division. And, of course, missing the playoffs again. All kind of expected. Um, Last year had really nothing to do with wins and losses, and I'm not really sure it's going to have much to do with this team this year either. Um, Team stats were just about as ugly as that record. Their goals for, they were at a 2.17, dead last in the league. Second half of the year, they were really hard to watch, especially when Bedard was out with that injury. They just had no scoring, they had no depth. And of course, not just Bedard missed, but of course Taylor Hall missed just about the entire season. They followed that up though with the goals against of 3.52, 29th in the league. That made them a minus 111 in goal differential. So they weren't scoring a lot of pucks and they were letting a lot of pucks in on the other end. Power play, they were 28th in the league at 16.6. PK, they were 27th at 75.8. And the faceoff dot 46.3, good for 30th out of 32 teams. So again, I'm not going to break all these numbers down too closely here. It is kind of what it is for this team last year. It was not good, was not pretty. Once again, was kind of expected not to be very good and not to be very pretty. Looking at their core skaters, of course, all world center Conner Bedard, the young 19-year-old, played 68 games in his rookie campaign, had 22 goals and 31 assists for 61 points, so almost a point per game there. I think no question, had he played 80 or 82 games, he probably would have been, I'd say, right around that 80 point, mark. Philip Kusherev, uh, 75 games for him. Had a actually good season for himself, 18 goals, 36 assists, 54 points. He over doubled his points from prior year. New captain, Nick Foligno, played in 74 games, had 17 goals, 20 assists for 37 points. Forward Jason Dickinson played the full season, 82 games, had career high in goals for himself, actually 22 goals, 13 assists for 35 points. First time he'd actually been in double digits in goals in his career, so really good, strong season out of him. And of course, the aforementioned Taylor Hall only played the 10 games, 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. Be curious to see when he's able to come back. I haven't seen many reports on him here as camps have opened, but he could become part of that good veteran, group to kind of what he was brought to be. Like to be there for Conor Bedard to kind of insulate him a little bit. And again, former Bruin, I'm cheering for the guy. I hope he can make a full recovery and have a good, solid season for himself. Goaltenders, Peter Mrazek played in 56 games, had a record of 18, 31, and 4, 3.05 goals against average, and a 908 save percentage. Again, despite the record and the goals against, I thought Mrazek actually played pretty well last year for the team. Not a good defense in front of him at all. And this has been kind of a much maligned goaltender over his career. He has had some really, really bad years, uh, going back to, I think it was his Toronto days. Um, and I kind of thought he played a little bit above what was expected last year. I think the team's definitely going to need that from him moving forward. And then Soderblom got into 32 games as a backup, had a 5.22 and 4 record, 3.84 goals against, and an 883 save percentage. So again, much like we're talking, numbers not pretty. What was refreshing though to see is July 1, team was busy. They were very busy. One of the more active teams, I'd say, when the new year opened there back in July. Picking up forward Ilya Mikheyev for Tyler Bertuzzi coming over from Toronto. He had a solid year for himself as he got going there in Toronto. 21 goals, 22 assists, 43 points. So he brings that goal scoring and kind of toughness over to Chicago. Defenseman Alec Martinez, I thought was a sneaky good get for them. They do add the goalie Laurent Brossois, who should definitely be battling for the very least backup role. And I think maybe it's a 1A, 1B with him and Mrazek this year. We'll find out. Old Boston Bruin friend Craig Smith comes over along with forward Teuvo Teravainen. Teravainen, solid season for himself out of Carolina, 25 goals, 28 assists, 53 points. That one caught me off guard. I didn't see that one happening. I believe he had played there before, so maybe I shouldn't have been that surprised, but I just didn't see Chicago in on him. Um, the big rig forward, Patty Maroon, leaving Boston after that short time, coming over to Chicago, and defenseman TJ Brody. Not many key departures out the door. There were more departures, but again, as you guys should know, I'm not putting up every single transaction on this board. But Taylor Radish leaving Chicago for Washington, one of the more significant players moving on. So, keys for this year, guys. I feel like it's far less to do with wins and losses, and more to do about team building, team culture, along with that positive development for many of these young players. I do love how aggressive they were July. I do. They had a lot of good veteran depth. Earlier this summer, I did a show around my top 5 improved teams, and the Hawks were on that list. They were one of the top 5. They've added solid depth scoring with Alexa Bertuzzi, Teravainen, along with again Martinez and Brody to fill in, the back end there on their blue line. And while I love the additions for like the on ice play and the kind of insulating Bedard and things like that, I also love this from an asset management perspective. You know, they brought in some names that will certainly be called, for come the trade deadline. Teams will be making phone calls on guys like Bertuzzi, maybe Martinez, Teravainen, players like that, perhaps. So, assuming that Chicago will be in that position to be sellers again this winter, some of these free agent signings will give the Hawks that chance to add either draft capital or add more prospects to build around. Again, if they want to. That doesn't mean they have to, right? They're not in a big cap crunch or anything, but they'll have those potential options. So again, I think it's very, very smart on the team how they've managed all this. The team is definitely going to be tougher to play against this year, guys, without a doubt. They're not going to be the doormat they were from a year ago. We know that all eyes, of course, no doubt, will squarely be on Conner Bedard. How does he answer coming off of what was a very strong rookie season for himself? Listen, guys, this it's not a hot take or anything here, but we all know, right? The sky is the absolute limit for this player. He should easily be a point per game guy this year. And quite honestly, if he plays close to that full season, there's zero shot coming for me if he's over 100 points when it's all said and done. Now, with a year experience under his belt, more veteran scoring depth around him, but that'll be an absolute treat to watch this season. I can't wait to see how he follows up that first season. Nick Foligno, as we know, recently named the captain of the team. Absolutely the right pick in my eyes. Again, without question for me. He, of course, was a captain years ago in Columbus, and even during his short time in Boston, the leadership group they really ensured that his voice was heard. In the room and on the ice, he definitely had a kind of an unofficial leadership role there for the Bruins. Um, of course, after this happened, you go on social media and you get some of the crybabies out there talking about, oh, how Bedard wasn't given the C and how what a just slant that was against Bedard. But everybody gotta take a deep breath here. Gotta remember this kid is still only 19 years old. Yes, he's the best player on the team, no question. But giving him a few years to learn more about the leadership side of things is a great move by Chicago. Just because you're a great goal scorer doesn't mean you have all that leadership skill right out of the gate. Very few players have had that. I know there's some examples, right? I'm pretty sure McDavid was given the C right away. I think Crosby was one of those as well. But when you have a guy like Foligno in the room, no reason to push Bedard, into that role. He doesn't need that pressure right now. So zero doubts, though, he will absolutely be the long-term captain, just not this year, and that's okay. Okay, that is okay. So I do see improvement for this team this year, but I'm not sure how far up they can really rise in the standings there in the Central. We've highlighted this division all summer, just how deep it is, how the top improved with teams like Nashville. I mean, I think Seattle. Listen to me. St. Louis could be, a tough, middle of the pack team. Winnipeg's not going anyplace. I think Utah could be maybe a sneaky wild card team too, or they could finish seventh or eighth. Right? I mean, I don't think there's any doormats um, in this division, and I just think that there's no easy wins when you talk 1 to 8. So, listen, I think Chicago can have a successful year of growth with more wins and potentially still finish eighth. And for now, assuming the culture is growing and the young players are developing the right way, that's just fine. It's just fine for right now. Absolutely won't be fine 3, 4, 5 years from now. But I think for right now, for today, for this team, and based on contextually where they're at, I think that's just fine. And it should be a lot of fun to watch. Uh, So we are going to have the Washington Capitals will be up next on my list. Just 10 more teams to go before I can dive into my kind of standings and playoff official predictions before the season. And today is September 21st. So, yes, I am running out of time, but we're going to get through these next 10. When I do get to my Boston Bruins preview, I do have a Black and Gold Productions guest host that will be coming on with me, Sam Smith, who is the host of the B&G podcast. So he'll be a lot of fun. I think you guys really like him if you haven't heard him already. So he'll be on with me. Probably be a couple of weeks or a week and a half or so before I'm able to get to Boston, but that'll be coming up too. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching tonight. If you do like what you're hearing, please don't forget to hit like, hit that subscribe button down below. And until next time, be kind, show love, and God bless.